When you're in a room packed with hundreds of people and the speaker says, "Can anyone here tell me what is the global economy?" Do you raise your hand? Of course not. What's important to you, your business, and even world trade is ultimately going to be specific in focus. That's why it sounds so abstract and irrelevant on a certain level. The global economy is like this in that while it's an overarching term, it means something different to every person, unless they have the same values and beliefs on certain economic policies. So, how does the world's economy affect you, and why is it important to understand? Simply put, how can you predict what happens in the global economy to better position yourself for success? People have been talking a lot about the economy of late, with two terms being thrown around a lot: global economy and international economics. A global economy is important to understanding how the world operates, works, and how the international system affects you. However, it's also not the most straightforward thing for people to get their heads around, which is why I've tried to explain it here in simple language. With that in mind, let's dive in. Over the past few decades, the global economy has seen a dramatic shift in how it is organized and managed by the participating countries. In addition to the flow of products and services, these changes have a direct impact on the movement of people across countries. Over the previous century, we've seen how a global economic crisis can be triggered by a large fluctuation in this worldwide economic system. There are a lot of questions about the global economy that we need to answer before we can begin to understand it. We'll take a closer look at the modern world's most powerful force here to help you better comprehend it. What does it mean to talk about the global economy? To speak of the global economy, one must first understand how many countries' economies are linked together. The countries engaging in these economic operations may benefit or suffer as a result of these actions. Several traits characterize the global economy, including the following. National and regional economies, civilizations, and cultures have grown increasingly interconnected as a result of the global web of commerce, communication, migration, and transportation. The global economy was born as a result of these changes. Domestic economies have become more coherent as a result of globalization and the global economy. Globalization is thought to have an effect on international trade. As a result of international trade, governments have been able to focus on areas where they have an edge over their competitors. The potential of a country's economy to create goods and services at a lower opportunity cost than its trading rivals is discussed in this economic theory. One of the most important elements of a global economy is international banking, which allows money to be transferred more quickly than products, services, and people. Currency exchange rates and monetary policy are just a couple of the many facets of international finance. There are no geographical limitations when it comes to investing in the global market. Foreign direct investment is the primary mode of global investment. So why is it vital to have a global economy? Emerging markets provide a useful lens through which to view the global economy's significance. Emerging markets have grown economically as the world's population has increased, making them one of the key engines of global economic growth. Emerging markets are a positive sign for the global economy because of their expansion and resilience. Understanding microeconomics is necessary before moving on to the following point. Studying how people allocate resources and make decisions is referred to as econometrics. Economists focus on the way people make decisions and what variables influence them. They also look at the impact on the pricing, demand, and supply of items in the market as a result. From a microeconomic standpoint, these emerging markets are home to some of the world's greatest companies and wealthiest individuals, which has contributed to a more equitable distribution of income in these countries. However, poverty remains a problem in many of these growing countries, and more needs to be done to eliminate it. When it comes to the world's economy, who has ultimate power and influence? Many individuals believe that the world's greatest economies are responsible for determining the direction of the global economy. In spite of governments' authority over economies, it is enormous financial institutions and multinational businesses who control and support these governments. There is a clear dominance of huge financial institutions in the global economy. Many conventional government companies, such as power generation, oil refining and distribution, and the operation of public assets like airports and train stations, are reportedly part of U.S. bank participation, according to economic news around the world. When certain members of the U.S. Congress issued a letter to Ben Bernanke, the Federal Reserve Chairman, it was clear that this was the case. From the letter, here's a portion. I'll give you a few instances of this. 4 million metric tons of crude oil and petroleum products were imported into the United States by Morgan Stanley in June 2012. As a commodities derivatives dealer, Goldman Sachs stockpiles aluminum in enormous warehouses in Detroit. Bank is growing into airports, toll roads, and ports. In California, JP Morgan sells power. To put it another way, the three largest banks in the world, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Morgan Stanley, have virtually become oil companies, port and airport operators, commodities dealers, and electric utilities. How does the global economy function? One word sums up how the world's economy works: transactions. In order to keep the global economy going, international trade between the world's most powerful economies is essential. Most of these transactions involve trading between countries. A wide range of goods are exchanged between countries as part of international trade. Everything from fruits and vegetables to natural oil and weapons can be found. Among the advantages of such transactions are supporting global economic growth and fostering international competition on a variety of marketplaces, proliferating the use of machinery and industrial raw materials in impoverished nations and exporting primary goods to more developed ones, hence increasing global output of natural resources and raw materials. What are the consequences of the global economic situation for the world? As a result of the effect of the global economy, nearly every country in the world is influenced by events that take place in countries that appear to be unconnected. As a case in point, the Brexit decision will have a significant economic influence on other countries throughout the world. A referendum resulted in the UK's withdrawal from the European Union, known as Brexit. Economic activity, the creation and exchange of goods and services, is mostly to blame for these consequences and their consequences. Economic stability might be threatened by governments that place too many restrictions on products and services import and export. To put it another way, foreign trade serves the same objective as domestic trading. There are two major differences between domestic and foreign trade. To conduct international trade, currencies from at least two nations must be exchanged. Occasionally, countries impose trade barriers on certain commodities or services, which can have a negative impact on bilateral relations. Manufacturing costs can be reduced by focusing on products that can be produced more cheaply in a given country. Once these products have been exported, they are traded with other countries that specialize in a different type of product. The ability to take advantage of economies of scale is facilitated by a country's increased specialization. The proportionate reduction in costs that comes with increasing the volume of production is known as economy of scale. Companies in these countries can concentrate their efforts on constructing specialized production facilities rather than paying extra money to produce multiple types of items. There are times when countries impose trade restrictions on one another. Trade tariffs, taxes on imports, and trade quotas are examples of these barriers. Limitation on the number of products that can be imported into a country. When trade barriers are put in place, they can have a negative impact on the economy of the countries that are trading with each other. What are some of the advantages of the global economy? Among the many advantages of a global economy are: for countries to exchange products and services, there is nothing better than free trade. For countries who have a comparative advantage, it allows them to focus on producing those goods that they are best at producing. Employment mobility. The host country benefits as well as workers from an increase in migrant labor. Workers can hunt for work in other nations if their country is experiencing excessive unemployment. This also helps to reduce the disparity in access to resources across the country. Economic benefits such as lower average costs and lower customer prices have resulted from the specialization of goods manufacturing in the majority of countries. The global economy has made it simpler for governments to attract both short-term and long-term investment, which has resulted in increased investment. It is important to invest in developing countries to help their economy. Things that influence the global economy. Factors that influence and affect how well the global economy works, according to recent news. Infrastructural and natural resources, population, labor, human capital, technological advancement, and law. There are many factors that affect the global economy, and many of them have a relatively positive effect on it. After all, a lot of what we do here affects the global economy in one way or another. These factors include manufacturing, government, trade, technology, and communication. You probably already knew that the global economy affects everyone. It turns out that everyone you know is either boosting or destroying the world's economy. For me, the global economy is very important because it connects me to the rest of the world while regulating the flow of resources. It enables me to learn about different cultures and find inspiration for my designs. I hope after watching this video, you have a better understanding of what the global economy is and how it affects you. Were you aware of what is the global economy and how it affects you? Do you have any additional information that others should know about this topic? Let us know in the comments section below or join the conversation on Twitter. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content to transform into smart money.